A cylinder head gasket is placed on the engine block and the cylinder head is then positioned over the gasket. The cylinder head is clamped to the cylinder block with bolts. The purpose of the cylinder head bolts is to generate sufficient clamp load for the head gasket to seal gas and fluid. It is important to know that there are different dimensions to bolts. The major diameter, the bolt length, is measured from under the head to the end of the bolt. The thread pitch is the distance from one pitch to another measured in millimeters. For example, a thread pitch of 1.25 means that the distance between one thread and another is 1.25 millimeters. Two numbers separated by a point on the head bolt indicate the material grade. It is always important to ensure that the correct grade of bolt is used so that the specific load and tension characteristics of the bolt are achieved when it's tightened. Traditionally, cylinder bolts were tightened using a measured amount of torque in several steps. It is now more common for a combination of torque and angle tightening to be used. This generates a more consistent amount of bolt load since it is independent of the friction conditions. It is important to fit new cylinder head bolts when changing a head gasket. The existing bolts may have been previously yielded, over-tightened, have suffered from corrosion, or may be affected by fatigue. These attributes will adversely affect the clamp load and durability characteristics of the bolt if it is reused, leading to potential cylinder head gasket failure. For any bolts that are reused on other engine components, they should be carefully cleaned and checked for damage. If there are any doubts about the bolt's integrity, then it should be replaced. Before fitting the gasket, inspect the bolt hole threads and depth. Clear any debris from the threads in the block, and blind bolt holes should be dry at the bottom. Use a compressor air nozzle to clean the bolt holes. Any residual oil or coolant at the bottom of the blind bolt holes could potentially hydraulically crack the block when the head bolt is fitted in the hole. When head bolts are fitted, make sure that the threads are clean. Dirt or debris in the bolt threads may damage the threads in the bolt holes. Lubricate the thread lightly. When fitting head bolts, always adhere to the engine manufacturer's tightening instructions. Always check the recommended fastening sequence by using the instructions included inside the box or the Payen catalog. When the torque wrench clicks, the set torque is reached. Stop pulling the torque wrench to prevent the bolt from over-tightening. When bolts have to be angle tightened, use a degree wheel or similar device to measure the tightening angle. Make sure that the base plate stays in position when fastening the bolts. The torque wrench must be calibrated on a regular basis. Calibrating a torque wrench is essential in order to get its accuracy verified. Apart from accuracy, calibration ensures that the bolts are correctly tightened in order to generate the required sealing load.